Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Good morning, this is Arlene. And you are with us on our ASEAN Daily on the economic and social-cultural side. Let's focus on the economy. Grace, do you know that which country in Southeast Asia has become a top millionaire hub?
Well, other than Singapore, which country will that be? I mean, Singapore, we've been talking about that. It's one of the most attractive city around the world. I mean, when it comes to Southeast Asia. So which country is it?
So a lot of the rich people, they actually prefer to invest and also to stay in Indonesia.
Indonesia?
Yeah, as it's the only archipelago that bested by Singapore in the region. But also interestingly, a quick note that Vietnam is also quickly catching up as the hub for the rich and wealthy.
It's very interesting news because when it comes to investing their money or even living in certain countries in Southeast Asia, like we mentioned before, Singapore was always the top, the number one place to live. And the next one is even though we want to congratulate all Indonesia, but also Malaysia needs to also to catch up. And then most of the millionaires, they are now living in Indonesia, in the other capital cities in Southeast Asia. I mean, except Singapore, and that's according to the Asia Pacific 2006 wealth report.
Well, that's interesting because, with this report, it shows that more millionaires are living in Indonesia than in any other capital city in Southeast Asia. Well, except for Singapore, of course. This is based on the report that you mentioned, the Asia Pacific 2016 Wealth Report by consultancy firm, the New World Wealth.
That's right. And then at the same time, when it comes to Indonesia is such a huge country with a lot of populations there. So I'm sure when the rich population in Indonesia was reported at 525%, that exceeded the rate in China and in India even, and they placed the second and fourth place respectively. That was just the last year. And yes, like we are mentioning, there are a lot of other countries are catching up to this ranking in Southeast Asia. But apart from those countries within Southeast Asia, other countries, surrounding countries such as Hong Kong, South Korea, Taiwan, and New Zealand, they are also part of the top 10 countries.
And not to forget, the third place, Australia, is also considered a place of high value of wealth, especially for those with money, definitely. And the New World Wealth predicts that Vietnam will pose a huge HNWI population growth in the next decade and is the next ASEAN or Asian country to watch out for, alongside with Sri Lanka. So the future would definitely be a more prosperous future or not. We do not know. But I do have worries when it comes to, the growing of the super rich, because then you will have this situation of greater inequality. You have people who are still stuck in the vicious cycle of poverty and they are unable to have greater social mobility, while the rich will always stay prosperous and wealthier. There is something that perhaps needs more discussion as well.
Yes, that's a very good point when it comes to choosing a country for having a very good place to live. And then in Southeast Asia, having poverty and inequality, those two are the very the negative factors that has been there for a long time. So like you mentioned, that it is something we really need to consider and also to find out perhaps the common ground for everyone to agree.
Yeah. And another issue that has been struck to the core in the Malaysian society. Early on, we discussed about Najib's funding by the Saudi royal family, but a lot of people might be distracted by the news and didn't realize that yesterday and also today are the 2-day TPP or Trans-Pacific Partnership debate in the Malaysian Parliament, and parliamentarians from both sides sides of the political camp are raring to discuss the TPP to be tabled at the Dewan Rakyat yesterday as well as today.
So this lower house of parliament started, you mentioned before, about 2 days special sitting to debate this agreement, and this was followed by the session in the upper house as well. So apparently International Trade and Industry Minister Mustafa Mohamad, who tabled the motion, he argued that the Malaysian participation in TPP will be quite essential for the country to achieve the goal to become high-income country by 2020. But at the same time, it was quite contradicting because still Malaysia had a sort of an option to withdraw themselves from the TPP. That was the news that we discussed last week. But now at this table, it has become such a hot issue that how can Malaysia benefit from this TPP, and what are this agreement and argument that we can come up with?
There's so many views surrounding the TPP. There's one view during the parliamentarian session that's saying, we may lose out to Vietnam because Vietnam has signed all the major mega trade blocs in the world that sort of concerns Southeast Asia and Asia, including the TPP. If we do not sign the TPP, we may lose out with the economic pie that is available. Another argument is, this is against the TPP, that it will only benefit big businesses, but it won't really address issues like inequality. Especially inequality is such a huge topic in the world right now. But so far, they can confirm that he will table the motion for an hour from 10 a.m. yesterday, and the floor would be open for Q&A, which is great because I think a lot of people want to know how much that Malaysia will be getting out of this TPP agreement. But also, Mustafa did mention that if we do not sign the TPPA, there won't be any high income status for Malaysia. It sounded a bit bitter to me. It's a bit of a blackmailing too. But what do you think?
Well, I can safely say yes, the nation Malaysia will face some kind of risk when it comes to participating in this agreement, including perhaps the investigating the dispute settlement, and when it comes to financial statement, and also including the human rights such as the rights of Malays and other indigenous people as well. And when it comes to also economic side, it was mentioned that Vietnam is catching up really fast, so that we may have a sort of competitiveness in ASEAN itself, that whether are we going to give benefits to each other, or are we just going to fight and compete each other just to win over a certain economic growth.
And just to give a bit of a number by the meaty trade minister, that there was every possibility that additional foreign investment between $136 billion and $239 billion would be flow into Malaysia, and 2,000 job opportunities would also be created in the process by 2017. Of course, this is great on paper, but do you think Malaysia is ready for it? I think a lot of us are still clueless how it would benefit Malaysia. I mean, you can give all these numbers, but socially, how would it impact the dynamic of the current economic system we have right now? Is still very much a huge question mark. Anyway, we move on to the news on social-cultural side of Southeast Asia. Well.
What's happening?
Well, a lot of things are happening right now, but one of the things that people are not really discussing openly is about the MERS outbreak, and Thailand is definitely struggling to fight to prevent the MERS outbreak.
That's right. I mean, it's been there before. It started in South Korea last year, and then it was very viral among all those countries. And then, in fact, from the last year's record, about 36 of them passed away. And this MERS has sort of resided in Thailand right now, and then it's alarming the country because it's very contagious, and at the same time it affects the respiratory the area that you can have a lot of symptoms with this, that it really needs to be careful. But apparently this specific disease was carried on by this traveler who was a 71-year-old citizen of Oman who arrived in Bangkok last week.
And since then 32 people have been quarantined for suspected MERS viruses, and since 2012 the virus has killed 586 people worldwide, and 162 MERS cases have been diagnosed in 26 countries.
Right.
Almost all are in the Middle East or involve people who travel from the region. So I guess we shouldn't go to the Middle East anytime soon now.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, Thailand definitely is suffering from a couple of hiccups by the MERS outbreak. It is also getting colder. I didn't know about it. I mean, it's kind of cool to experience coldness, especially when it comes to Southeast Asia. It's always hot and humid.
Well, it is very interesting experience, but at the same time, it's also very dangerous to the population because people are not ready when it comes to, especially when it comes to clothing and also the house, the insulation, the system. It's not built in, unlike countries from East Asia or other European countries. So it is also quite worrisome when it comes to sudden like coldness reaching especially Bangkok and perhaps the some part of region in Vietnam as well. So people will suffer from this coldness, especially the weather.
Yeah,
and
you can easily get hypothermia.
Yeah, and then that also happens in the country like America because of this unusual coldness there.
A lot of people, climate change.
Yeah, these people have been affected by the climate change as well as the the daily routine is affected.
Yeah, definitely bitter cold has gripped East Asia, but it has also reached out to Southeast Asia. It's called the Siberian cold, and in areas in Vietnam you can actually witness snow right now, especially in the region of Sapa, and you will see some people in Bangkok actually wearing winter hats to avoid the chill. And what we are seeing right now in northern Vietnam, where mountain farmers are used to 11 Celsius in the winter, snow now covers the vegetable growing on the terraces. The same wave of cold air that swept through China arrives in Vietnam, and in the region of Sapa in Lao Chai province felt a sudden drop in temperature from 21 Celsius to a -4. Can you imagine that?
Oh, that's a lot of difference.
It's a sub-zero temperature that people in Vietnam are now feeling in terms of the weather. While at the same time, in areas such as Bangkok, Laos and Myanmar, cold has reached further west and south. This is peak holiday season for foreign visitors to Thailand, as it is not too hot nor too humid. And it's normally sunny, but now it's cold, so I'm not sure people actually enjoy it or not. But I think I would enjoy Bangkok right now, knowing that it's only at 20 Celsius or 16 Celsius when it's at night time.
But at the same time, to me, it's more worrisome than enjoying the snow, because a lot of foreigners, they go to Thailand for its weather and all those environment.
You mean the warm weather?
Yeah, but when it comes to just heated by this coldness, I don't know whether they can survive. And even foreigners who travel there, they're not even ready to face the warm weather there. I mean, they travel to all the Southeast Asia during those seasons to avoid their own cold weather from their own countries.
And also the cold is not good for the sea because he has also triggered strong winds at sea, posing serious hazards to boats, not just in highlands, to vegetable farms in Vietnam. So for those who never experienced cold before, maybe you want to go to Vietnam and to Thailand right now just to feel the chill, I suppose.
That could be just a hint of how cold feels like.
And we move on to the last news of today, where Miss Philippines arrive home and ignites a lot of dreams. The recent crowned Miss Universe Pia Woodsback returned to her homeland in the Philippines on Monday, a few days ago, where she was greeted with a crowd of fans lining the streets in Manila.
Of course, that attracted a lot of attention, and she is already a public figure when it comes to the beauty, or even when it comes to the intelligence, because she is a Miss Universe. And then that hyped up because of the last announcement of the winner during the Miss Universe contest, and that's why she got even more popularity because of that. And then having her to her hometown, a lot of people cheered her and also supported who she is, where she is right now. And of course that comes with a lot of expectations that what she is gonna do when it comes to quote-unquote world peace. But she's very interested in the human rights. So I'm sure in that country, in the Philippines, there's a lot of things that needs to be done in terms of the participation and activities.
She's also interested to be a Bond girl, according to the news here, that she has big dreams. When she returned home, she said that she wanted to be the next Bond girl. Who knows? So she said she'll see that's the next dream, and she definitely have some job offers in the US.
Right.
Many international actresses have been cast alongside actors playing British agent James Bond and are popularly known as Bond girls. Woodsback has worked as an actress and model in the Philippines before winning the crown. And the Miss Universe pageant is a big deal in the Philippines.
Of course.
In fact, they have boot camps for pageant girls. And two other women have brought home the crown before her, with the last one winning in 1973. It's definitely a great thing for Miss Woodsback, because she also had the opportunity to meet President Benigno Aquino III, a bachelor apparently he is, who is rumored to have gone on a date with her before. That's interesting. I didn't know about
it. That's quite scandalous, to be honest.
Yeah. But yeah, all the best for President Aquino III. Still a bachelor.
Yes. But when it comes to Miss Universe, it's a very it marks a historical mark when it comes to, especially the Philippines, the country itself, because a lot of Miss Universe participants and even the winner, they're all from the European countries or even other parts of the South America. But now it's coming from the ASEAN. It's something that we can all be proud of. And her interest is so vast that not only she's interested in this specific areas such as HIV, AIDS, or even human rights, but she's even interested in acting to be a James Bond. So that's sort of the characteristic that we can see as a Universe, that she is very adventurous, and also she's willing to learn on new things even more.
So the future is definitely wide and far ahead for the current Miss Universe Pia Woodsback from the Philippines. Anyway, that's all from us today, and thank you for listening to our news commentary on our ASEAN Daily. You can always catch up with us on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
And also, don't forget to drop by our website, dreanasean.com. And when you're on the go and we have no access to listen to our podcast, do download our app, Drean ASEAN.